At News Channel 6,
You make us the best.
This is a News Channel 6 update. Channel 6, your source for news.
Good evening, I'm Ron Beaton.
and I'm Johnette Warwick. Next on the Nightcast, congressional candidates in Kentucky's first district square off.
And 4 teens in custody charged with burning an area church. Details next on the Nightcast. Hi, I'm Ron Beaton. Up next, wildfires and flooding batter the country. An attorney says he knows what blew up TWA Flight 800 and he wants $100 million. And who might replace Bill Curry at UK? The Nightcast is next.
Live from the area's award-winning source for news, Ron Beaton, Johnette Warwick, meteorologist Cal Sisto, and Dave Winder Sports. This is News Channel 6 Nightcast.
Good evening, everyone. The 2 men who want to represent Western Kentucky and Washington squared off tonight in a debate.
Incumbent Republican Ed Whitfield and Democrat Dennis Null fielded questions from members of the Kentucky Farm Bureau. Dennis Null is trying to unseat Whitfield in the 1st Congressional District. Nightcast reporter Scott Allred attended tonight's debate in Draftonville. And Scott, what was the hot topic?
Well, Johnette, they really covered the waterfront on issues that affect agriculture. Now, this is a Kentucky race, so it should come as no surprise that many of the questions involved the regulation of tobacco.
We do not need any additional regulation. There isn't anybody that wants young people to smoke, but we have adequate laws on the books today.
I'm against FDA regulation of tobacco. I don't think we should regulate tobacco any more than we do alcohol.
As we become more and more populated and the government taking more and more property, we want to be sure that private landowners are protected.
I believe that if the government takes any of our property, they should compensate the property owner at 100% of the value.
We have so many regulations that it is unbelievable, the number of regulations. We just need a more common sense approach to them. What's the cost of the regulations versus what is the benefit?
We have too many regulations in this country. I think they need to be uniform throughout the country. They need to be as simple as possible, and we really need less of them.
The government revenues increase when you reduce taxes. So I think our economy will benefit, and we can move forward to also try to balance the budget.
Against any tax cuts until such time as we balance the budget. Then I'd like to see tax cuts that would benefit the middle class and the lower class.
Now, I was really struck by the similarity between the views of these 2 candidates. Sometimes you just don't get a sense of what they're all about in the short campaign ads and advertisements that you see on TV. If you care to hear more from these candidates, they will debate again on Kentucky Educational Television on Friday.
Going to do it again?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Nationally, Republican presidential nominee Bob Dole kicked off a 2-day tour of Michigan today. He's trying to cut into President Clinton's lead in that key electoral state. Earlier, he met with 8 Republican governors in Detroit. Dole laid out his economic package centered around his proposed 15% tax cut. He also criticized the president for what he calls Clinton's anti-drug efforts.
No doubt about it, President Clinton has been AWOL. He's been AWOL before, but he's AWOL on drugs.
President Clinton was also in Michigan today. He praised what he called his administration's strides in education and took Dole to task for proposing to abolish the Department of Education. Well, it doesn't appear many people are changing their minds about the presidential race. Just 2 weeks before the election, 4 new national polls show a remarkably stable race. Bob Dole is still 15 to 24 percentage points behind the president. Only 10% of likely voters in a CNN USA Today Gallup poll say they have changed their minds at any time in the past 2 months about which presidential candidate to support. Dole hasn't led a major national poll all year long.
A possible break in the case of a missing Bowling Green girl. An FBI spokesman says human remains found near Springfield, Tennessee yesterday may be those of the missing 7-year-old Bowling Green girl. FBI agent David Cole says the remains were found in a field in Robertson County, Tennessee by a farmer. He held a news conference tonight in Bowling Green. Cole says there is a strong possibility the remains found 15 miles south of the Kentucky-Tennessee border are those of Morgan Violi. He said it will be 4 or 5 days before positive identification identification can be made. Viola was apparently abducted July 24th.
Just 5 weeks after the Greer's Baptist Church in Sykeston burned to the ground, police have arrested 4 people. In custody are 18-year-old Jacob Delisle, 18-year-old William Davis, 19-year-old Jimmy Crittenden, and a 16-year-old male juvenile. They are charged in connection with the September fire at the church, along with numerous other crimes.
Destruction. They were out trying to see how much, there was nothing that they gained financially from this. It was strictly a situation of trying to cause some destruction.
All 4 are charged with arson, burglary, vandalism, and larceny. Investigators say other charges are planned and there could be more arrests. Parts of the Northeast, first, get out while you can. That's a scary message from officials in Southern California tonight. Residents of the exclusive seaside city of Malibu advised to flee their homes as a 1,000-acre brush fire heads their way. Further south, firefighters put out a fire in Orange County, but not before it damaged 20 expensive homes. Many in that area also had to be evacuated. Now, parts of the Northeast still flooded after a nor'easter pelted several states with torrential rains. Just west of Portland, Maine, the city of Westbrook has received nearly 12 inches of rain in just 24 hours. Residents along coastal areas have evacuated and headed to shelters across southern Maine. The governor declared a state of emergency in several counties. Near Boston, residents and emergency workers used boats to get around. The streets resemble rivers, some cars nearly submerged. Numerous roads are washed out, making travel obviously treacherous.
Although Palestinian negotiators walked out of peace talks, an American official says there's no cause to worry. The U.S. source says both the Palestinians and Israelis have agreed to continue negotiations. Israel says only small details remain unresolved on Israel's pullout from the West Bank town of Hebron. But the Palestinians say Israel is reneging on existing agreements. Meanwhile, U.S. mediator Dennis Ross has announced he's returning to Washington. He says he'll go back to the talks when the time is right.
A lawyer says he knows why TWA Flight 800 blew up, and he has filed a $100 million lawsuit. New York aviation lawyer Lee Kreenler is suing TWA and Boeing on behalf of one of the victims of the disaster. The attorney blames the explosion on mechanical failure. He says TWA and Boeing engaged in willful misconduct and negligence by failing to design and maintain the plane properly. An expert witness hired by Kreenler concludes a fuel pump on the center fuel tank exploded during the flight, starting a chain reaction that caused the plane to break up in midair. Now, Kreenler admits that he has not inspected any wreckage or data. He bases his conclusions on news reports.
They finished selecting alternate jurors for the O.J. Simpson civil trial. The defense booted prospective jurors with ties to police, and prospects eliminated by the prosecution included a middle-aged black man who said he didn't believe race was an issue in the Simpson case. Both sides take alternates seriously because they lost 10 jurors during Simpson's criminal trial. Opening statements in the wrongful death trial are scheduled to begin on Wednesday. Well, students saw red in many area schools today. We'll tell you what the ribbons represent.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam Burridge. We're going to turn some young people loose at the Woods and Wetlands Wildlife Center. Burridge's bag is coming later. Stay tuned.
And one area shopping mall says trick-or-treating is out this Halloween. They say the day is a terrible trick on merchants.